Hello students, myself Trisha Chowdhury, the Faculty of Computer Science from P.N. Dash College, Part1. Today I am going to deliver a lecture on DBMS, which stands for Database Management System. We will learn from this lecture about data, about information, about standard approaches of organizing data, file-oriented system, and about introduction to DBMS. Now, what is data? It is the collection of raw facts. It can be processed by any computing machine and it can be represented in alphabetic form or numeric form or alphanumeric form. Suppose your name is Shoma Roy, your roll number is 54 and your registration number is AB006. These all are data. Now, what is information? These are the processed data. These are meaningful and systematic data. That is, we can say the meaningful and systematic data are called information. We, the human, uses information to make decision. After processing, the data becomes information. We can take an example. Suppose your first name is Aditi, last name is Roy, you read in second semester and your roll number is 005. From the above mentioned data, it can be determined that there is a student whose name is Aditi Roy who reads in second semester and the roll number of the student is 005. This is the information. Next, standard approaches of organizing data. There are two standard approaches of organizing data. Number one is file-oriented approach and number two is database-oriented approach. Now, what is file-oriented approach? This is the conventional method used in early days to store and process data. And the next is database-oriented approach, which is the modern approach to store and process data. Next is some characteristics of file-oriented system. At first, we will know that about file-oriented system. This system organizes an application's data into one or more files, and the application programs process the data stored in these files to generate desired output. Here is a master file which is used for permanent data storing, and another file is called transaction file, which is used to contain data of temporary nature. Here are some disadvantages of file-oriented approach system. Number one is data redundancy. Number two is poor data control. Number three is poor data manipulation capability. Number four is data dependency, or we can say lack of data independence. Next is incompatible file format. Next is security problem. After that, here comes limited query flexibility, and last but not the least is data integrity problem. What is data redundancy problem? In the file-oriented approach system, this system used a decentralized approach, so each department used its own application program and files. This results data redundancy or duplicacy of information. Data redundancy means repetition of data. Duplication can lead to loss of data integrity and inconsistency because it requires additional storage space, extra time and money. Second is poor data control. Since this system is decentralized in nature, so there is no centralized control on the fields. Number three is poor data manipulation capability. Since these systems do not provide strong connection between data in different files, so its data manipulation capability is quite low. Number four is data dependency, or we can say lack of data independence. In these system, files and records are described by specific physical format that are coded into the application program. If the format of a certain record was changed, the code in each file containing the format must be updated. Also, the instruction of data storage and access were written into the application's codes need to be changed. So changes in storage structure or access method could greatly affect the results of an application. Next is incompatible file format. As it is known that the structure of files is embedded in the application program, so the structure is dependent on the application programming language. For example, the structure of a file generated by Python programming language may be different from the structure of a file generated by C or C++ programming language. The direct compatibility of such files makes it difficult to process jointly. Next is security problem. Every user of the file system should not be allowed to access all data. Since application program added to the file-oriented system is in an ad hoc manner, it is difficult to enforce in such security system. After that, limited query flexibility comes. File-oriented approach organizes records in a file according to a key field. Hence, it can quickly process queries based on key field value. But when the key field is not relevant to desired information, it needs to search entire file. Next is data integrity problem. Data integrity refers to consistency of data in all files. For consistency, the system must carry out any change in a data item in every file containing that data item. Now we will learn about DBMS. So what is DBMS? It is a set of programs to store, manipulate and retrieve interrelated data. It contains information about a particular system. It is an electronic or computerized record-keeping system. It provides environment to user to perform operations like creations, deletions, insertions, updating and retrieval of information. And here are some characteristics of DBMS. At first, it comes real-world entity. A modern DBMS is more realistic and uses real-world entities to design its architecture. It uses the behavior and attributes too. For example, a school database may use students as an entity and their age as an attribute. Number 2 is relation-based tables. DBMS allows entities and relations among them to form tables. A user can understand the architecture of a database just by looking at the table names. Number 3 is isolation of data and application. A database system is entirely different than its data. A database is an active entity, whereas data is said to be passive, on which the database works and organizes. DBMS also stores metadata, which is data about data, to ease the own process. Next is less redundancy. DBMS follows the rules of normalization, which splits a relation when any of its attributes is having redundancy in values. Normalization is mathematically rich and scientific process that reduces data redundancy. Next is consistency. Consistency is a state where every relation in a database remains consistent. There exist methods and techniques which can detect attempt of leaving database in inconsistent state. A DBMS can provide greater consistency as compared to earlier forms of data storing applications like file processing systems. Next comes query language. DBMS is equipped with query language, which makes it more efficient to retrieve and manipulate data. A user can apply as many and as different filtering options as required to retrieve a set of data. Traditionally, it was not possible where file processing system was used. Next comes ACID properties. DBMS follows the concepts of atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability, normally shortened as ACID property. These concepts are applied on transactions which manipulate data in a database. ACID properties help the database stay healthy in multi-transactional environment and in case of failure. Next is multi-user and concurrent access. DBMS supports multi-user environment and allows them to access and manipulate data in parallel. Though there are restrictions on transactions when users attempt to handle the same data item, but users are always unaware of them. Next is multiple views. DBMS offers multiple views for different users. A user who is in the sales department will have a different view of database than a person working in the production department. This feature enables the user to have a concentrated view of the database according to their requirements. Next comes security. These features like multiple views offer security to some extent where users are unable to access data of other users and departments. DBMS offers method to impose constraints while entering data into the database and retrieving the same at a later stage. DBMS offers many different levels of security features which enables multiple users to have different views with different features. For example, a user in the sales department cannot see the data that belongs to the purchase department. Additionally, it can also be managed how much data of the sales department should be displayed to the user. Since a DBMS is not saved on the disk as traditional file system, it is very hard for miscreants to break the code. Now here are some references from which I have prepared this lecture for you. And thank you everyone.